Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Fearless and Free TV. I am super excited to bring our guest on for today. He's going to be talking about some other modalities for keeping ourselves healthy that I had not considered before. So I'm really, really excited to bring Dr. Ron in and see what he has to say about things that I didn't know. I love learning new things about health and wellness and what we can do to become our very best self. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say. Before I bring him in, I wanted to remind all of you, if you haven't yet, to please subscribe, like, share, and make sure you pass this forward to everyone you know, because we are creating a new world, and we do that by sharing forward everything we think can be helpful. So please do that. And then also I wanted to share with you my 6D Money Tree program. I've talked about this before. There were some glitches getting the website off the ground, and so I haven't really promoted it just in case I ran into more issues, but it appears that the 6D Money Tree is now working fine and beautifully, and it's an excellent gift to give to yourself or to those you love for the holidays. That website is 6dmoneytree.com. That's the number 6. The letter D is in dimension. Moneytree.com. And what I do is I teach you how to create prosperity in the etheric field so that it manifests here physically. And with that, I'm going to go and bring in our guest, Dr. Ron Neer. Hi,
Hey,
Dr. Ron. Hi.
how is everybody tonight?
I think everyone's doing pretty well. This is, Thanksgiving season. This is when we find it in ourselves to be even more grateful than usual. I'm a huge proponent of gratitude. To me, it's one of the most powerful forces in the universe. And so I'm continually promoting it, if you will. And this is one of my favorite weeks of the year because there's so much gratitude in the air. And I'm really glad to have you on today. I was out walking earlier today. I go for a walk on the beach when it's warm and sunny enough for me to get out. I was walking and I had my feet in the water, and I just expressed my gratitude to Mother Earth. I call her Mama Gaia. And I'm just this overwhelming feeling of gratitude for everything that she gives us. Everything we could ever possibly want comes to us from her. And I think people tend to forget that. It's like, they think the man in the sky, or they think their neighbors or their clients or whatever. But to really get into the gratitude of knowing that everything we need is right here, that she provides us with everything. And so I know that's one of the things you and I are going to be talking about today, is this discovery of something that Mother Earth has for us that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, which is why I'm so excited to be talking to you, because I had never heard of this before. So I'm really grateful to have you here today.
So thank you very much, Victoria. Yes, it's a great week for us to count our blessings and to give back to everyone. We're also blessed, and others aren't as much. So we got to try to help them all we can. So, yeah, to get right to the point, what happens when we take our last breath and we go to aspire with higher powers? What takes place right then? Well, what takes place between a body, this shift between body, mind, and spirit, is we no longer are breathing oxygen. Well, what if we focused on upping our oxygen content all the time? What happens when you go to the hospital and you're ill? They stick the little pulse oximeter on your finger and they're monitoring your oxygen saturation. What happens when you have a lesion on the skin from a diabetic cause or other causes? What do? They put you in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. So if we take a quick look at oxygen, that's what Mother Nature gave us. Mother Nature gave us the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we eat. And if we focus on how to maximize our O2 saturation, then no illness can survive in an oxygen-rich environment, and that's what our goal is, to learn about the simple biology of it. How it became to be for me was at the age of 39, I lost my ability to practice dentistry due to mercury toxicity in the heavy metals that we were using in dentistry. And so I couldn't figure out how to get help. And until I studied nutrition and minerals and the earth and all the great research from all the Nobel Prize winners, I figured out it was about what Mother Earth gave us. And if we get back to the simple biology, it can help us detox and get rid of the things that we've breathed and eat and drank and absorbed. And so oxygen became it for me. And if you study the periodic table, like most Nobel Prize people do, oxygen is only transported by 4 of the naturally occurring elements on the periodic table. And that's hydrogen, sulfur, selenium, and tellurium. And so sulfur is the one that's the natural, kind of goes along with the health of our gut, and it's supposed to come from the soil, therefore transmitted to the food we eat. And if it's not in the food, in the ground, then it can't possibly be in the food we eat. So when you break that down, sulfur needs to be 3.5% in the body, and most people are way less than 1%. And you either got to find a great farmer who's putting it in the soil, or you got to supplement with it, and most people have to supplement with it. And so that's what led us to develop the best oxygen transport system there is, and that's organic sulfur. It's really MSM, methyl sulfonyl methane. We coined the phrase organic sulfur crystals and flakes because we got the great big crystals. They're found to be the most pure, the most effective. The real fine powdery stuff just doesn't work. It's ground up. It just doesn't work right, and it's not pure. And so it helps get rid of heavy metals. That's why I discovered it, because oxygen helps you detox and hydrate the body. And then you got to have water, the oxygen molecule supplied by your water that you drink. And then you've got the dual role of the sulfur transport the oxygen, but the oxygen via the water can't have chlorine in it, because chlorine works against this, takes oxygen away. So when you get good water, preferably with minerals, and you transport that to the cell loves it. It becomes hydrated, permeable, and then it gives the extra toxins to the sulfur, and it takes it to waste. So the sulfur brings in the good, the oxygen takes out the bad, the toxin. That's the simple process of biology that Mother Earth has given us. And if we just try to focus on that and eliminate the toxins that are in the processed food, in the water we drink, the air we breathe, and we pay attention to that, into what the body's doing, we can get an oxygen-rich environment in our body. And when we do that, we're doing what we can to naturally keep the body pure, healthy. So that's the story. It's all about oxygen. So that's how we do it. We take the organic sulfur by dissolving it in a liquid and drinking it on an empty stomach so it doesn't bind with other things. We have a liquid that people use topically or to hydrate the eyes. And that's pretty much how we go about the process. So
the issue is oxygen. I had never, now we know, and any of us who've been paying attention for a while know that oxygen is one of the issues, that we need more oxygen. That's why there are the oxygen tanks and, deep breathing and going outside and getting fresh air and breathing oxygen and taking those things off your face so that you can actually breathe fresh air, and we're not continually rebreathing our own stagnant air and all of that, and all the toxins that are being sprayed into our air that we're breathing, and the toxins that are in the food that we're eating. So I had never heard of your kind of treatment before for more oxygen. So I'm kind of in awe of it. So how did you discover this? I mean,
well, I read a lot of the Nobel Prize people who study the periodic table elements. I'm a big fan of Matthias Rath and Linus Pauling, who are the advocates of the benefits of vitamin C. And it's a strange element, because at low concentrations, it is an antioxidant, but at high concentration, it's an oxidant. So there's two different processes. One's oxygenation and one is oxidation. They sound the same, but they're not the same. And so once you study those, one helps you detoxify and the other one helps you clean up free radicals and increase your O2 sat. So they're not exactly the same, but oxygen is the key. Without it, we don't breathe. And if we don't have it, we don't survive. And so it's the same with bad bugs in the gut. Most illnesses are thrived by anaerobes, and what an anaerobic environment means is it lacks oxygen, and an aerobic environment means it's rich in oxygen. So when you study that simple concept, and you heard about the gut-brain connection, the bacteria in the gut that are most healthy for you are the strains that are aerobic, meaning oxygen-rich, oxygen-friendly. And so when you just take that to the same extent of, okay, let's try to up the oxygen in our homes. They got stuff you can add to your furnaces, ozone machines, air purifiers, nebulizers. You can vaporize hydrogen peroxide. You can increase the oxygen you breathe. You can increase the oxygen you get from the water you drink, get rid of the chlorine, and then give sulfur to it to transport it to the cells, so you get highly hydrated. And then the changes just occur. Scars go away. Skin becomes subtle, soft, glow. People get energy. They get rid of a gastric reflux or acid stomach. Everybody says, what will it do? Well, no two people get the same exact result from increased oxygen. Right. So it's simple, basic, and it helped me because sulfur also binds to heavy metals. And that's what my problem was. And it takes a long time to get all of it out. And it has neurologic problems when you get stricken by heavy metal toxicity. So it's slow. You make improvements. You don't fix it all overnight. Didn't get there overnight. But minerals, oxygen, and cleaning up the intake of the bad stuff from our diets, and that combination just works, and people just see it. And the simple but easy truth is it's all simple, natural. There's nothing difficult about it. We are our own worst enemy by learning it and then being proficient and disciplined to use it every day, instead of buy in to the fast food, no one has any time way of doing everything. Everything's about convenience. And a little side note there, we were giving people this recipe how to make our liquid drops because it's so simple. Buy our crystals, mix it with the formula, use it. Well, people started saying, well, when are you going to sell it? We're like, well, we gave you the recipe. And so one day, my son, who helps us with things, does a great deal for us. I said, everybody keeps asking about this. I said, no wonder convenience stores make a lot of money. They're preying in on the human to want everything ready to go and convenient. So we made the liquid that we were giving away the recipe to make it yourself. And it's been a great product. When we were trying to get everybody to do it themselves, but they want convenience. They want instructions how to use it, and they want to be able to do it right now. They don't want to slow up for 5 minutes to do it themselves. Okay, great. So that what that is validated for us is people can learn stuff, but we're not disciplined enough to be consistent with it. And the people who get the most out of alternative therapies stuff are the ones who become very disciplined of not going against the humanistic instinct to not be disciplined.
Right. Right.
Anyone can do it. Anyone.
Convenience, and they can buy it in a pre-made bottle of stuff, so they don't have to mix it up themselves.
But that's just for the liquid. The real benefit comes from dissolving the crystals in some warm water and taking 1 teaspoon for every 100 pounds of body weight twice a day on an empty stomach. Usually works out well if it's first thing of a morning, and then again 2 hours after lunch when the stomach's empty. But you also need other minerals to complement the full spectrum. Mm-hmm. With our followers, we give out regular emails teaching people about that, products we don't even have any affiliation to, but we try to give them a full spectrum of what I've had to learn when I was trained allopathically, and that didn't help me with my disability and my problem. Once I started making some strides and gains from what I learned, it was easy for me to say, what am I going to continue to do? I can't practice dentistry anymore because of the neurological benefits and a tremor form of, call it Parkinson's if you will, but it really doesn't have that diagnosis. But anyhow, once I learned this, I'm like, I got to give this back. I'm going to be here for a while, and I got to make use of what I do and teach others to benefit from what I have made some gains in. So here we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we do, right? This is your way of giving back and making a difference.
And that's all it's about. If I help one person by you and I getting together today to get disciplined and get informed on some simple stuff that's highly cost effective, then it's a win.
So I'm actually going to put it to the test. I've been navigating psoriasis for a good portion of my life. And I discovered a few months ago it has to do with leaky gut. So I've been really, really disciplined about my diet for the most part. I do clinical studies on myself, which I know a lot of people don't do. They want the quick fix, right? I do clinical studies on myself. So I'll try something for a week, then take a break from it, then try it again and see if it was just a fluke or if it actually worked. So I experiment on this vessel that I have and to see what works. And so I'm going to take your protocol and add it to my morning and evening routine and see if it helps. Because
we suggest 1 month. We suggest 1 month. If you'll be disciplined for 1 month, 2 months is probably better. But we've had a lot of people with the skin condition you mentioned have told us how badly they fought that, and they make a personal phone call to say it just got better. And it has to do with hydration of the skin. Well, the key to sulfur is it helps promote the glutathione collagen. And that's how we see the hair, skin, and nails benefits. The hair getting full of body, the skin becoming. Some people just call us and say, we had a couple people, actors from Hollywood, I won't mention no names, call us and go, we glow when we take the sulfur. We glow. As in glow without a Hollywood makeup set was what point they were trying to tell us. We just glow. Well, that's just about glutathione, collagen, and hydration. I've not invented anything. I've just made it a talking point. And and a very pure form of what we do. We have the exclusive on the large crystals. No one has it. Everyone wants it. We got plenty of copycatters out there try to mimic our package and our marketing material, but none of them have the boldness to put their product in an oval window so you can see the product on the inside, because what they have isn't what we have. So they try to mimic it, but they talk the talk and their product won't walk the walk.
Wow. So how did you first find this? How did you? It
was weird because a friend of mine and another a friend from North Carolina called me one day and said, "Hey, I think you ought to check this out," because he was trying to help me with mercury toxicity. He said, "I think you need to check this organic sulfur stuff out." So I did, and I made contact with a person who's deceased now, was on their radio show, and learned a lot about the product, and also learned a lot about hyped up marketing, and we're not about that. So me being a doctor and a chemist and a biologist, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I can to have a good product and not have to talk a big hyped up. And we worked and worked and worked and paid a lot of money. And now we make it according to the way what we know works. And it just works. And we've had many people try to test us about the large crystals and how we go about doing it. And they try, and we've not been debunked. And that's fine. And we got a lot of people that we tell everybody, try all the other products, try them for a month, whatever, but just make sure you try what we have too. And then you be the judge. And there's reviews out there of people doing just that. And once they experienced it, then that review becomes very powerful.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to trying some of this for myself and seeing, if I feel a difference, if I recognize a difference, because, I'm one of those people that will tout. If I find something that works for me, I tell everybody. So,
and we suggest that too. Just, email me your mailing address and I'll send you some. In fact, it a lot of times works out best. Well, when we do things like this, generally what happens is we get you some, then we do a follow-up to this after you've had the chance to personally, then they're just not listening to us. And we find that people have this inherent ability. They know when you believe in something, and you can't believe in it if you haven't experienced it.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought up that hyped up marketing, what you were saying, because I think people can see through it. Or you would like to think they can, although obviously a lot of people can't see through it because people are out there buying crap and sham products because the marketing is so good. But there's something about being in complete and total integrity about your product and about how it's being promoted. There's no reason to have high-pitched marketing. There really isn't. But people fall for it because it seems like it's the quick money solution. But the truth is, when a product works, it speaks for itself, and it doesn't need to have a bunch of money and hype put behind it.
This is true, Victoria. You have a lot of people out there that learn how to try to pick fruit from the low-hanging tree. And so they learn with these computer things niches of products that are successful, and then they don't put in any hard work. They just mimic the broadcasting and the marketing, mimic the packaging, make it a look like, and they take advantage of the deceived consumer and then cut the price by 25 or 30%, when in actually they're selling junk and making a lot of money and aren't even in the world of the quality product. And then people buy into the hype of the cheaper price, and it's got to be the same because it looks the same and they're talking the same, but they get duped.
Right. Well, and they're not taking the time to do the side-by-side comparisons. And, and that's interesting because I hadn't really thought about it before, but you're right. There are so many of these. The word I'm hearing is pop-up companies. I've never heard that term before, but that's what's coming in. There are all these pop-up companies that just, like you said, see what the newest trend is, and then they grab onto that newest trend and try to ride the wave of someone else's efforts.
Well, our big food producers do the same thing. They learn about the term organic, gluten-free, soy-free, sugar-free, caffeine-free. They learn all these buzzwords that people who are getting new to trying to be healthy. And so because their knowledge isn't as in-depth as it can, these food people know if they just put these right buzzwords on, you're going to buy it because it's got to be true. Well, in reality is label laws allow you to put flat out poison in a product. And if it isn't over 1%, you don't even got to write it on the label. So you can't even become proficient at reading the labels because the Cosmetic Drug Food Act is as if it has less than 1%, you don't got to report it. So.
Wow. The other thing too, and I don't think people realize that the term natural flavoring gets used in a lot of packaged foods, and you can hide just about anything in the term natural flavoring.
Yeah, well, organic is a buzzword too, but really, unless you're going and buying vegetables at the farmer's market, I'll say one other little thing here. There's a little gadget that if you're trying to get the most nutritious, dense vegetables you can, because most people that come to get healthy learn you got to eat lots of vegetables. In fact, we tell everybody until you know how to read labels really well, when you walk in the grocery store, you better be buying most everything on the outer four walls of the grocery store, because when you go down them aisles, it's toxicity. And if you can't read the labels well, you're really at a disadvantage, and because of all the reasons. But in the vegetables, which more and more people are learning that, there's a little gadget called a Brix meter or a refractometer. A company we know, mom and pop's little thing, has a company called naturalcheck.com. And you buy one of these little gadgets and you walk into the produce department or the farmer's market and you just get a little juice out of the fruit and learn to use this machine. And you'll know how nutrient dense what you think looks good, whether it is or not. And this is my play on organic versus not. So once you learn, you'll figure out at the farmer's market which guy knows what to put into his dirt so it shows up in the vegetables you're buying. Because this little refractometer Brix meter, it'll tell the story. You don't got to ask anybody anything. The little meter will tell you. You don't got to say a word, ask no question. You'll go back to that guy every week to buy his stuff because you know what it's putting out. You can listen to all the talk that you want.
Right.
Another great source is Growers Minerals. .org or com, whatever, where they teach you how to grow really good stuff. When you got great soil, the soil doesn't have pests, it doesn't have insects, it doesn't have all the bugs and all that other, and you learn the dirt and your gut, if they're treated the same, that's how you get to health. And organic sulfur helps you do that. Clean water helps you do that. Nutritious food helps you do that. And a little bit of education in the right thing. And then you can totally, the air you breathe, the water you drink, and the food you eat, and you're getting somewhere.
Now,
but it takes time. Don't happen overnight. It takes discipline.
Oh yeah. It is tell people your body didn't get into the condition that it's in overnight. There is no quick fix, but that's what people are looking for. They're looking for one little thing that's going to fix everything. But the truth is, it took us 40 or 50 or 60 years for our body to be in the condition that it's in. It's going to take a while for it to repair itself. But the body is capable of repairing itself. I tell this to people all the time, that when we go to the doctor, people are like, oh, my doctor's so great, he cured me. Well, no, actually, the doctor didn't cure you. What the doctor did was create an environment for your body to heal itself. It's always about the body healing itself. And we create an environment for the body to do what it does best. But people are looking for something
right. If we give the body what it needs, it has way more ability than we as humans by ourselves could ever do. The body's pretty resilient.
Yeah, we just have to give it what it needs. So you were talking about the soils being depleted. Why? I know I had no idea you could replenish the soil like you were talking about. So why do you think the soil is so depleted from these kinds of nutrients and sulfur, which I never, like when I think of sulfur, I think of like Yellowstone Park and boiled eggs, right? So
it's our modern day farming practices. We're using toxic synthetic chemicals. It's just that simple.
So there is a way. I know that a lot of people are starting to grow their own food again. That's one of the gifts of 2020, one of the gifts of COVID. I try to look at everything from how can I be grateful for this experience? So one of the gifts that COVID brought us is that a lot of people are starting to learn how to grow their own food again. And so you said there was a company where they can learn how to replenish their
there's a company that teaches you a lot about the health of your soil called growersmineral.com. And they're just teaching you how to go, to go about. The problem you have is you need the good clean water, and you need the heirloom seeds and the non-GMO. But if your environment in your area is right next to all the GMO, it'll pollinate your stuff and you can't stop it. So a lot of times that requires you to protect the air and grow inside.
So a lot
even if it's a greenhouse, because cross-pollination will just ruin you.
But if it's in a greenhouse, you'll be able to protect it from cross-pollination.
Correct. Right? That's what I meant by grow inside. So meaning you can't just have a normal exterior garden out in your backyard, because if you get cross-pollinated from the neighbors, all the effort you went through is going to end up being like a GMO product, because that's where the pollination came from.
Right. Until we finally end the GMO practices, because eventually those will end. I think as more and more people wake up to what's really going on in the world, we'll be able to put an end to all of those practices that are that are basically causing our food to harm us instead of help us.
We can hope. They got a good stronghold on us.
Yeah, but there are a lot more of us than there are of them.
It takes discipline and willingness to fight to achieve what you're discussing.
Well, and it takes a willingness to no longer support them. And so that's what we were talking about earlier. People want the convenience and the quick fix. Well, that if we're going, we need to change our buying practices. And people talk all the time, well, how do we change the world? It's like, what the world right now runs on money. If we want to change the world, we just got to change where we spend our money. And that is the reason that those big corporations are constantly changing their labels to try to keep up with those of us who are saying, you know what, I only want to eat organic food. So they slap the organic label on, right? So we're actually the ones that, whether we accept it or not, we're actually the ones that drive what's happening in the planet when enough of us choose something different than what has been happening will cease to exist. It's about us making better choices.
It is. We have the majority. We just got to use it.
Exactly. We have to use it because there's not very many of them, and there is a ton of us. We just have to recognize the power we have as individuals coming together for a purpose, and like you said, and actually use it. And
our whole mission is teach people to get back to what the real biology of Mother Earth is, because it's not difficult to understand or learn. So I feel quite honored to do nothing more than have some respect and appreciation of what we put out there, because we're just trying to be good teachers and stewards of what Mother Nature already provided for us. And we're just trying to cut out all the unclear hype and just stick to the basics.
Right. Since it's one of those sayings that I use all the time is to try to stay as close as possible to the source. So when you're talking about the packaged foods and the meat with nitrates added. Now, I don't eat meat, but occasionally I'll have some fish or something, but it's all those additives. So if we choose to eat as close as possible to the source, Mother Earth, then the less chemicals we're putting into our body, and the better our body machine, if you will, the better it runs. It's like putting high octane gas into your engine as opposed to some crappy kind of gas that's got dirt in it and then expect our engine to run smoothly. So it's getting as close to nature as possible with our food. And unfortunately, it's hard to tell whether something has GMOs in it or not. That's the hard part.
Yeah, it really is. Labeling can deceive anyone. And I think people can put out false labels, and if no one proves them wrong, I think they get away with it.
Yeah. I saw a story about a year ago, and I won't label the company per se, but there's a company that sells all organic stuff, and one of their products said organic on it, but when you flip the label, when you flip the package over, it says from China. It was like California organic corn, but then when you flip the package over, it says that it's actually from China. And so somewhere in that process, they're able to use the organic label, but it's more than likely not organic, considering where it really came from.
Well, I won't pick on any one country. A lot of different countries buy our corn and soybeans and drive the market for our farmers. So we have done a good job, whether it be GMO or natural organic. We've done a good job of teaching the third world countries how to farm. And let's not rule out that third world countries trying to feed their people and keep them hungry, that they can't learn to grow good stuff too. So they can. The U.S. doesn't have that exclusiveness, but we are more trusted in doing so.
Right. Well, and two, I don't even get me started on corn and soy, because those are two of the worst crops we could possibly be growing for humanity. You know, we have these corn subsidies to grow all this corn to feed cows, and cows actually can't digest corn, and human beings can't digest corn. It's an entirely fake food industry, corn is. And I think soy is the same way. It's not even real food.
Yeah. If we study some of the philosophies of Dr. Gundry out there and the term lectins, that is what explains what you're just saying. You're saying we're putting out a bunch of lectins into the food chain.
No. It's not digestible. It's just sugar.
It's inflammatory.
But we have all these government subsidies to pay the farmers to grow those crops, and then those crops are grown to give to the animals that can't even digest them, and that's why we have issues with cows, is because they're trying to digest corn, which their bodies actually aren't even able to digest.
Yeah,
it is a mess.
Yeah, it's inflammatory. I mean, our country right now has a huge obesity and high glycemic index, or pre-diabetic or diabetic. And it's all, I mean, if anyone wants to do anything to learn how to eat, learn what's inflammatory and what's not.
Right.
Internet's full of good information. And learn what lectins are. Lectins are a source of inflammatory foods. So anyhow, if anyone has any questions, I mean, I'm always happy to help. And we give a suggestion that if you do come onto our site, and please sign up to be a user, and that way we can give you the free educational material that we put out on these other subjects that we have nothing to do with. We're trying to give back anything and everything we can that will help you. Our product alone isn't the savior, but it's sure a good start. And some of these other topics will complement and help you get a stronghold on moving in the right direction.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing.
I'm sure Victoria will let everyone know how to track us down. I've enjoyed our visit today, and God bless everyone. And
well, thank you so much for being here. Yes, I will make sure in the comments below that I have all of your contact information, as well as a couple of websites that you mentioned here as well. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your products and services and your story with us. And for everyone that's watching, as always, remember to hold your light so high others can't help but see their own light. Together, we will create a world of peace, harmony, and prosperity for all. And remember to get bold, be fearless, and live free. Mwah.